Maybe volleyball.
Volleyball. See, if I was tall enough to do volleyball, yeah, I would definitely do it.
Okay. We're reading a book. It's called Dear Martin, and I'm gonna give you a summary about it. Okay. In our book, Dear Martin, the main character, Justice, is a very bright and smart kid, but had an incident with an officer trying to help his friend, though it has emotionally disrupted. He was unfairly arrested because he was suspected of harming his former girlfriend just because of his race. Without asking, Justice is later pressured into making a bad decision on a Halloween costume with a few peers. Towards the end of our reading, Justice accepted into Yale University, but a fellow classmate named Jared was rejected. Jared feels he did not get into Yale because he is white.
In the beginning of this, when he got arrested, it was because they just automatically assumed that he was that person that was black and hoodie and earbuds and they didn't realize that he was trying to help his ex-girlfriend into the car. They thought that he was trying to have his way with her. Given your experience, could you speak to that idea, or the idea of being judged first rather than questioned?
Yes. I can speak to it. It's racial profiling or stereotyping is not something that's just spoke about every now and then. It's something that's also a part of majority minorities culture. So my parents raised me to understand that racial profiling, stereotypes, that is something that exists. That don't just think, hey, I'm human, I can do normal. No, there are certain guidelines that minorities do have to go around if they do want to live a life with the path of least restriction. When I say least restriction, I mean for me to walk around and just to carelessly just do things just like I'm just normal, I'm just human. Like everybody looks at me as human. Then that is not the right way, because humans label. We like to put people in a category. So I'm African American. Okay, well, I'm an African American male. That is my label. That is where people fit me. And as humans, we like to say, hey, everything is going to be like this. Every cat is going to meow and is going to go in the litter box. Every dog is going to want to play outside. Every African American male is going to live under these stereotypes. Every Asian minority is going to live like this, and it's so on and so forth. And that is exactly what we do. We like to categorize. So, for me, yes, I get treated like every African American male, but it's in my culture. I'm so used to it that it's not weird to me. So, are you guys reading All American Boy or Dear Martin?
Dear Martin.
Dear Martin.
Last year in 7th grade, that was one of our books that people got to choose for lit circles, like literature book circles and stuff like that. And yeah, I remember it a little bit, but I didn't read it myself, just from what people said around me. That a lot of violence with cops and boys happened, I'm pretty sure. I didn't read it, so I'm not that sure.
Great book, though. It's a really great book. It's something to read because it's something that can kind of open your eyes to a different perspective. I related exactly to that book. So when I read it, I was like, oh man, well, if I was him, I would have did this differently. So and it goes into that. So like a little, into that book. I know you guys didn't read it, but pretty much, yeah, he got racially profiled. He was African American male. He was in the back where he had his bag because he was also in ROTC. So when he went to the back, he wanted to get something to drink, and then a lady was back there, but she bumped into him. They both bumped, and then like pretty much she dropped the glass, and then like the guy had to go in the back and see like what happened because something broke in the bag. A bag of chips fell into the bag, and then he instantly believed that the boy was trying to steal the bag of chips. Although the chips just fell in there, and it was after the glass broke. So he instantly connected, the bag of chips, African American male, something's wrong, something has to happen. The police officer, because in Chicago, like there are going to be like police officers that's going to be in most convenience stores because that's where a lot of crime kind of happens. You're going to find gas station, convenience stores. So they work shifts and they come by to do that. So the officer was a bit rough and he didn't ask questions. He just assumed, and he got banged up pretty badly because of that. And that changed his whole lifestyle. Now, that I relate to that because the same thing happened to me. I got racially profiled, but the difference is I didn't know I was racially profiled until later, because I don't like to believe that the world would look at me different. That's really what it is. It happened to me, but I didn't want to admit that it happened because the second you admit that it happened, I didn't want to make it seem like I was a victim. And that is probably the worst thing about situations like this. So one day I was in college, Western Illinois University. I got there on a track scholarship. And I'll actually have a story about that too, I'll go into. But pretty much I was just before the Trayvon Martin case. It was a couple months before that. So I used to wear hoodies, tied up, I was cold, and I was just walking to McDonald's. I was getting trailed by a police officer's car. I don't like that. I don't know, like, I don't like that. That's, like, from Chicago, that's just, like, you just don't, that's, like, really gives you kind of a really weird feeling. It's like somebody walking, like, right on your shoulder. It's like, man, can you just, like, go somewhere else? It's like, I don't like that. So I felt it, so I went an alternative route. And then right when that happened, the police officer car went again. I was like, okay, this weird coincidence. Like, okay, there's probably something going on. So police officer cars parked up ahead of me, and they instantly pulled around. They parked. So I crossed the street. Right after that, I hear footsteps of like running, and I'm like, I look around. I'm like, okay, what is that? I couldn't even react. And then after that, a huge police officer just pile drives me into the concrete sidewalk. And I don't know, like, does anybody play football? Anybody play football?
My brothers.
Yeah, if you play football and you just get rocked, then you have that feeling where the wind just gets blown out of you. That's how I was. Like, my hands fell. I was like, what? I didn't know I couldn't react. I'm like, what's going on? Like, I was like, I just got rocked, man. Good tackle though. That was good technique. So I get power drive, and I just see flashing lights. I'm instantly surrounded, and one of the officers actually pulled a gun on me. And this is my first encounter of having a gun that close to my face. Especially, I don't know what's going on. I already just got the air knocked out of me. So I'm like, I just don't know what's going on. And then I see the barrel of a gun, like, in my face. So they're telling me, somebody's reading me, my rights. Another person has a gun on me. They have the lights on me. I have them screaming demands like, stop resisting, to do this, do that. I can barely even hear them. It sounds like I'm in, like, it's all muffled. It's like I had earmuffs on or something. I could not hear them. Didn't know how to react. My eyes were just big. I just saw flashing lights, and I'm looking at the gun, just like kind of like staring at it because I could not. I just didn't. My parents told me, like, if a police officer puts a gun on you, do not move. But I also had to, like, put my arms behind my back. So I'm gonna go to the point that I have a lot more points, but pretty much, they arrested me because they said that I fit the profile of a suspect that was breaking into dorm rooms and to houses around the area. And that's why I got, arrested that day. And then later on, they let me out because they realized that it wasn't me, and that's what it was. I had injuries after that. I couldn't run my first couple track meets because of it. So I missed all indoor season my freshman year. Because of this injury, I filed a complaint. Then when you file a complaint to police officers, you just sit in a room with another police officer. They type down your whole story, and then they're like, okay, thank you for your complaint. Pretty much, like, we'll see you later. It's nothing that really makes you feel like, okay, something's gonna happen at the time. At least in my experience. I believe that different police departments actually handle it better than others. This one, I was at Western Illinois University, Macomb, Illinois. Do you guys know? Ever heard of it? Yeah. They're a very small town. They just handled it that way. Do anybody have any questions before I continue?
Justice said like the same thing like in our book, like when he got beat up by the police officer pretty bad, he said that his mom would file a complaint, but he really wouldn't do anything.
Yeah. Doesn't do anything. And then I got arrested and I got let go, and it was 4 or 5 in the morning, and I didn't have a car. So I had to walk back to my dorms until my roommate, who's also in the track team, finally picked up the phone, and he picked me up halfway when I was there. So, that sucked. That was like, guys could at least drop me off, I felt like, but it was whatever. When you file a complaint, it's almost like they have a lot of respect. They work hard to become police officers. So you're going to have a lot of police officers, I believe, that are going to do the right thing. They train, they know what to do. There also are police officers that are not going to do that. And it's going to be hard for people to say, okay, well, this police officer didn't do it, because do you know how many complaints police officers get? Think about it. There's so many people. People get traffic tickets, and they're like, well, that's not fair. I'm going to file a complaint. They can't do anything about that. So it makes my case that less valuable, because there's so many people complaining already. So how do you know to differentiate a police officer that did bad policing or a person that's just complaining to get out of a ticket? Never know. But pretty much they said that I fit the description. I saw the man. I didn't look anything like him, man. It was just ridiculous. And I matched the height, but it really goes into me the fact that I was wearing a hoodie, and that it was late at night, and I was going, and it was just suspicious behavior, because I was also African American. I was African American, and there was an African American that was doing robberies. So that's where the issue all came into play. And after that, it definitely changed my perspective on a lot of things. It changed my perspective, but I also was taught this already. My parents told me that as African American male, it's like, you are going to get racially profiled. When I drive, even in my car, if I'm like blasting, they tell me, don't blast your music. If you're driving and you're blasting your music, say you're speeding a little bit, you're going to be more inclined to get pulled over depending on where you're at. Because it's like, okay, well, it's like, I'm going to pull, who knows? He might have a warrant for his arrest. Who knows? That's definitely what happens. But it's also something about the media. Everything with racial profiling, everything that happens is all about what the media outlets. And we, going on generation after generation, continue that trend. Our parents may teach us one thing, or we may not know something, and we continue that trend. And then that's what happens. Like, I remember when I was in middle school, the media portrays every single Asian American is smart and great at math. That is their stereotype. I had a Asian American that was English language learner. So he was smart, but he was struggling. He had different issues. But people called him stupid because he was Asian and was in the CP class, just the regular class. Like, boy, you should be an AP. You're Asian. Are you serious? Like, it's like, are your parents going to be okay with you in this class? Like, that's exactly the mindset that everybody has. And it's crazy, but there's also was like, one Asian kid in our class? There weren't that many, like, Asian Americans represented, so where are we going off of? We're going off of social media because we don't have a big body of Asian Americans around at all districts, honestly.